TikTok is a great platform for people to express themselves, and while a lot of things on it are often funny and entertaining, some creators also talk about serious topics, such as trauma or violence they've experienced. One of those creators was Sania Khan, and she would pay the ultimate price for telling the world about her torment. Let's talk about it. Sania Khan was 29 years old and full of life. She lived in America but had strong Pakistani roots. She was beautiful, and she wanted to make other people feel beautiful as well. That might have been one of the reasons she had chosen her job. Sania was a professional photographer. On her Instagram, where she gained her first following, she said, "I help people fall in love with themselves and with each other in front of the camera." Sania loved her job, and she photographed anything from weddings to baby showers, for clients and her friends alike. Her career and future in photography seemed bright. In June of 2021, she married her boyfriend of 5 years, Ahmad Khan. Ahmad, like Sania, had Pakistani roots but lived in America. When the two got married, they decided to move to Chicago together. While they had been in a committed relationship for 5 years, this relationship was mostly long distance. Nonetheless, when Ahmad proposed, Sania accepted. A fatal mistake, as it would turn out. What Sania didn't know was that Ahmad had been hiding something from her. He was struggling with his mental health a lot. Whatever problems he was dealing with often made him lash out at Sania. Things came to a head in December of 2021, when Sania first confided in a friend that Ahmad was struggling with severe mental health issues, and that she no longer felt safe with him. She was scared of her own husband, and the man she thought she knew didn't really exist at all. Sania decided to confide in her friends about what Ahmad and subsequently she herself was going through. She told them that Ahmad barely slept and that he acted very, very strange. And these episodes weren't a once-in-a-while thing. They were common. In fact, it was rare for Ahmad to act normal at all. She tried to get him to get help, but he always refused to do so. Things became so bad that Sania just couldn't take it anymore. The burden that her husband was putting on her was just too much for the young woman. Her friends pressed her to get a divorce, but other people, mostly the family members that surrounded her, advised her against it. Ultimately, Sania told a friend that divorce was considered a deeply shameful thing in her culture. She said that the stigma South Asian communities put on divorced women was otherworldly. They were treated like outcasts of society, and people looked down on them and shamed them. It didn't matter why these women got a divorce. Even domestic violence wasn't enough of an excuse for a lot of people in that culture circle. Nonetheless, Sania found the strength to leave Ahmad. She filed for divorce and got a restraining order against her husband. She even changed her door lock so he couldn't get in anymore. She also got Ahmad to move back to his parents in Georgia, more than 700 miles away from her. And with that, Sania finally felt some form of safety. And she decided to move on with her life and her career, which was taking off. But Sania wanted more. She knew now firsthand about the prejudice South Asian divorced women were facing, and she wanted to share her story to not only help herself, but also other women that were in similar situations. So she created a TikTok account. On it, she called herself the black sheep of her community. "My family members told me if I left my husband, I would be letting Shaitan, the devil in Arabic, win. That I dress like a prostitute, and if I move back to my hometown, they'll kill me themselves," she stated in one of her posts. This was one of the posts that truly showed that these women were not only outcasts of their community, but that they also were living under constant threat. If they left their abusive spouse, they could now face abuse or even death from their own family. In another post, she told of how going through a divorce as a South Asian woman sometimes felt like failing at life. Many of her posts went viral, and while as expected, there was backlash, she also found a wave of support from people all over the world. People from all walks of life, but mostly also from women that came from the same culture circle. Many of them either outcast themselves or staying in a marriage because they feared the consequence of leaving their husband. In one of her last posts, Sania talked about getting a tattoo to celebrate her birthday, and she finally said what had happened that December when she decided to get a divorce. According to her, Ahmad had tried to kill her. Sania very quickly managed to accumulate over 20,000 followers when tragedy struck. On the 18th of July 2022, Sania had been ready to leave Chicago and return to Tennessee. Unfortunately, she would never see Chattanooga alive again. Unbeknownst to her, Ahmad's parents had just checked up on their son when they saw that he had disappeared. When they couldn't find him in Georgia, they called the Chicago police. They knew there was only one place that Ahmad could have gone to. They asked the Chicago police to conduct a welfare check at their still daughter-in-law's apartment. When the police arrived at the apartment, they found Sania dead, laying close to her front door. A single gunshot wound in the back of her head. Ahmad, her estranged husband, was also on the floor, with a gunshot wound, lying somewhere behind her. It was obvious that he had killed first Sania and then put the gun on himself. Sania was pronounced dead on scene, while the 36-year-old Ahmad got taken to a hospital where he later also died. According to police, Ahmad had traveled 700 miles back to Chicago to talk to his still wife and, quote-unquote, fix their marriage. Whether he had planned to kill her is unknown, but he did bring the gun with him. Thousands of women have since showed support for Sania on TikTok and other social media platforms. sharing her message and lamenting her tragic death. And even more important, a lot of them finally brave enough to share their own story.